It was only like a couple years ago that I realized that the Super Bowl isn't something that a lot of people can buy tickets to. Like the NBA All-Star Game, it's not like there's lots of tickets for the public to go to these events.
Right.
And then this story comes across the wire that over 100 players are being investigated in the NFL for selling Super Bowl tickets to the secondary market. This is a wild story.
Right. So NFL players get access to Super Bowl tickets every year. It's either discounted or fully comped. And apparently some of these guys, over 100, and by the way, beyond players, is also coaches and other personnel who have taken advantage of this, taking these either discounted or comp tickets and then turn around and sold them to scalpers or bundlers is what the reporting says, that then turn around and send them to ticket resellers. And they're getting money. Obviously, that's why you get Super Bowl tickets, to sell Super Bowl tickets and make a lot of money on it. Now, here's the crazy part. The NFL has decided that the punishment for these players, because you're not allowed to do this, this is not a perk that's designed for you to do a revenue generation. This is for you to use either for yourself, your family, your friends, or even for your business. If I have like a landscaping business on the side or whatever, I can use these to attract clients or whatever it is, right? The NFL has decided the penalty for these guys is for them to repay 1.5 times the face value of the tickets, and they don't get Super Bowl tickets for the next 2 Super Bowls unless they're playing in the Super Bowl, in which case they'll have access to purchase tickets if they're playing in that Super Bowl, which seems to me like a really light slap on the wrist. Yeah. That's it? Because here's the thing. If my Super Bowl ticket was $1,000 face value, you're telling me I sold it for $1,500? Fuck no. I made a shit ton of money off of that. I made 7, 8, maybe even 10 grand off of it. The crazy thing isn't that that's the punishment. The crazy thing is that not every player has apparently agreed, because they say those who decline the punishment could be suspended by commissioner Roger Goodell. League and union sources with direct knowledge of the situation said.
This is ESPN.
Yeah, this is ESPN, Don Van Natta and Tisha Thompson. So I'm like, really? Who's out here fighting this shit? Like, nah, man, I'll take the game check suspension over $1,500 or $5,000, whatever, 10 grand. It's not going to be a face value of more than that.
According to media reports before the February game in New Orleans between the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles, ticket prices on secondary sites range from $2,500 to nearly $3,500 for the cheapest seats, with some tickets fetching over $10,000. Players and employees who work directly with the bundlers or, quote, otherwise had a greater role will face increased penalties, the memo said.
There's another thing here, which is tax fraud, tax evasion, right? Because no one's claiming the income on these. You know, when you get comp tickets, it's taxable income. But if you sell it, then you're making up whatever you would have owed on taxes, but you're not paying the taxes on the sales. And that's where an NFL investigation is secondary, I think, to a federal investigation. It reminds me, Tom, you know, you're a big referee guy. Do you remember the referee travel scandal?
Oh, yeah. The bedrock of some of the stories I'm reporting on. Yeah. I think it's called Operation Slam Dunk.
I fucking hate the feds when they do that shit. But yeah, basically what was happening was the NBA would buy the refs first class tickets, right? Oh, I just reffed the game in Milwaukee. Tomorrow night I'm in Dallas. Here's your Milwaukee to Dallas first class seat. The refs would then take that ticket, go to the airline, exchange it for a coach class seat, and then pocket the fare difference. They were doing this for years, and it was widespread, I believe, among many referees. And the IRS caught on because they weren't claiming the excess income on their tax returns. They got audited, they got caught, and it was a big sting operation. But it's the same kind of concept here. It's like you are taking something that has been provided by work and you're turning it into a revenue-generating activity without any notice.
I mean, I feel like Don Van Natta has been working in overdrive along with Pablo Torre. This has been a really crazy couple of weeks for what should be pretty quiet time for the NFL. This is football Illuminati, football Illuminati, football Illuminati. Keep your third eye open, y'all. Like, this is crazy what's happening. And if there was only a podcast that could cover such things like this one right here.
Football Illuminati coming soon.
My third eye is watching.
It's not how the third eye works.
You know how the third eye works, huh?
I've studied it for many years.
Is that so?
Here's the other crazy thing. Basketball's had its version of this as well. Neither of you guys know who the Pump Brothers are, right?
I mean, I'm assuming...
Is that not Hans and Franz?
Yeah, I was just going to say, is this Arnold Schwarzenegger or someone else?
We want to pump you up? Those brothers?
Not those brothers. different brothers. Dana and David Pump.
That's not their last name.
Pump.
Nope.
P-U-M-P. And their big thing was they ran all these elite AAU tournaments on the West Coast. The Baron Davises of the world, these guys all played there. And the Pump brothers know everybody. You know who comes to AAU tournaments, right? College coaches, because they're there to recruit. And you know what college coaches typically have a lot on hand of is tickets to these hard-to-get tournaments, like the Big East tournament or the Final Four or whatever. It's the same deal. They have access. And so what the Pumps would do would be saying, hey, are you going to use your tickets? If not, sell them to me. They would turn around, resell them out there, and make a killing on it. And so a bunch of coaches on the collegiate level got knocked for this activity. These are tickets that you got that, by the way, the fine print says you're not allowed to resell above face value. Now, here's the crazy part. Pump Brothers, not limited to college basketball. Because I know of assistant coaches in the NBA who have been at the All-Star game. And when you are on the coaching staff for the All-Star game, you get tickets to everything. The slam dunk competition, the rookie game, and you get tickets to the All-Star Sunday game. And guys were taking that and turning around and selling them. I think the Pumps were the ones that got knocked, but that put a kibosh on the widespread activity here of reselling stuff. And that leads me to the story that I broke exclusively, ladies and gentlemen, on the Levitard Show and right here on Basketball Illuminati. We'll do it one more time. You know what we should call this? Federal Bureau of Illuminati, FBI. How about that?
Nailed it.
That's it right there.
Because apparently there is a federal investigation that's going to be announced any day now that there have been widespread sale of authenticated game-worn memorabilia that have been obtained using ill-gotten ways.
Wow.
I'm talking about game-worn merchandise from NBA Finals games. And you know that because those are the ones that have the patch on them, the little Larry O'Brien on them. I spoke to a couple of sources on this, and I got deep into this world a lot faster than I expected to. The red flag that was raised, it was too much stuff to happen within the span of about 18 months or so. You might find someone selling a LeBron James game-worn NBA Finals jersey or a Dwayne Wade game-worn NBA Finals shorts. What you rarely find are full sets, jerseys, shorts, warm-ups in some cases, of multiple players, star players, Hall of Fame players, from the NBA Finals. You never see that. And this person apparently was selling it, some by regular means and some using the black market means. The feds caught wind of it, and now there's an investigation that's going to be announced any day now.
Wow.
This guy was not only selling to regular collectors, but it was also selling to people who were then flipping it some more. And the wild part about this, as I dove deep into the memorabilia world, is what it does is it erodes the value on the market for two reasons. One, you're flooding the market, right? If there's 20 LeBron game-worn NBA Finals jerseys from 2012, that's not as impressive as one or two, right?
Supply and demand, economics 101.
But then the other part of this, and this is really interesting, is because it's out there now that some of these items are hot, it then casts a shadow on every other person who's selling their totally legal ones, because people are wary about buying a hot item and then having a federal case come down, and then they got to give the item back, but they're ass out of their money. And the only way they can get their money is going through the courts, and God knows how long and how much money you got to spend to get your money back. This is something that from within the industry, I think people were pretty pissed about as soon as they caught wind of this guy.
Right, because it's almost like a NBA Jonte Porter's scandal is not just isolated to one player. It's like once this starts metastasizing into multiple players and it starts spreading, then people will start to question the integrity of what they're watching in the same way that people will start to question the integrity or the authenticity of what they're buying on that market. And so that's why this stuff is important, because it's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube once these stories break.
One of the people involved in this elaborate heist, which, by the way, I've been told is one of the largest, if not the largest, in the history of memorabilia heists. in terms of monetary value. This is one of the largest.
Yeah, I feel like a LeBron James game-worn finals jersey, it would fetch over $1 million. In my very tertiary research, I think there was one that went for over $1 million. So like that alone puts it into that stratosphere.
Now add multiples of those.
Oh, man.
Beyond that, one of the people involved is apparently a Miami police officer. And now this is where it gets crazy. One of the sources I talked to, I said, well, how do you know? He said he didn't put up an alias to sell this stuff. He used his real name, and all his information is online. You could look up his picture, everything.
Is his username Mustafa Omar _
Yeah, exactly. This is
what?
The whole time, all I could think of was our guy Moose. This is the Moose of memorabilia. Instead of gambling, he's doing it with merch.
Doesn't it feel like this is all happening at the same time? Like now we got in baseball Illuminati, baseball Illuminati. Say it 3 times, keep your third eye open. The second Cleveland pitcher was just embroiled in the Major League Baseball investigation. Emmanuel Clase. He's one of the best closers in baseball. And he's now been put on disciplinary non-paid leave regarding a potential infraction on gambling. And now there's clips, I mean, the Malik Beasley corollary, where there's clips of him throwing it into the dirt like 10 feet in front of home plate.
Like 50 Cent throwing an opening pitch.
Yes, yes, or me, if you watched that one on the Marlins a couple of years back. But I didn't know this. You can bet on baseball on 0-0 counts on the first pitch. And apparently, Clase, the closer who has the 4th most saves in baseball right now, he has a lot of these thrown into the dirt on 0-0 counts. How big can the market be for that? You know?
Apparently pretty big. We have more gambling talk later.
My assignment: uncover why the association inspires more conspiracy theories in volume and salience than any other U.S. sport.
You've heard of the Illuminati.
The truth is out there, but so are lies.
Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them.
The NBA has always been controlled by about 8 people.
Denial is the most predictable of all human responses.
If you're only using 10% of your brain, you don't even know that you're using 10% of your brain.
The NBA Illuminati.
If coincidences are just coincidences, why do they feel so contrived?
The Illuminati.
But you start to follow the money, and you don't know where the f*** it's going to take you.
It is unspoken. They have influence among other players.
The NBA Illuminati.
I don't have time for your convenient ignorance.
Maybe I'm a conspiracist now as well.
That's all it took. Oh, we got books, we got schools. You saw a video on YouTube.
My eyes, sir. You've never used them before.
We are the basketball Illuminati.
This is Basketball Illuminati. I am Tom Haberstroh, and as always, we are joined by Amin Elhassan, newsbreaker Amin Elhassan, and producer Anthony Mays.
Members of the Illumination can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/countthedings. You can also show your support by wearing a Third Eye hat or a Basketball Illuminati shirt or hoodie. Check out the link in the show notes or go to the Count the Dings store on Cotton Bureau and keep that third eye open.
Fellas, we got a loaded episode today.
What do you mean, Tom? It's the summer. Everybody's on vacation. The NBA is at a standstill. How can we possibly have things to talk about?
You know, Luka Doncic isn't on vacation. Big men's health story just dropped, and we've got one of the authors of that story. Luka Doncic 2.0 has entered the chat. Lots of talk around this story, and I'm a little more attracted to Luka Doncic reveal in this interview here. I don't know why it went over there, but you'll hear it. It's weird. I'm sorry.
It wasn't that weird.
No? Now that I brought it up, is it even more weird that I brought it up?
I think you're making it more weird.
Damn it. Okay. Ebenezer Samuel is going to join us from Men's Health. Used to work at the New York Daily News as an NBA guy, a sports reporter. We're going to talk to him about Luka Doncic and his body transformation. And yes, stool samples comes up in the interview.
Yes.
A little later in the program, we're going to have an Inconvenient Truth from Amin. He's got another thing that he wants to hit on. But first...
listening to The Agenda with Amin Elhassan and Tom Haberstroh.
Maze, are you expecting while we're recording this, the Jonathan Kuminga story to come to a conclusion?
I am not expecting it to come to a conclusion. I think it's pretty safe to say that there will be no action today, this week, possibly this whole entire month of August. Until the last possible moment, I expect Jonathan Kuminga to be embroiled in a Cold War standstill with the Golden State Warriors. And as Sam Esfandiari has tweeted out every single morning for what feels like all summer long, we're in the cuck chair as Warriors fans, waiting for the deal to be consummated. He's posted different chairs from different hotel rooms all across this fine country of ours. And it's been a lot of sitting and watching.
Yeah, a lot of sitting and watching. And this is also true for Josh Giddey. Also true for Cam Thomas and Quentin Grimes, is that those are the four biggest names in restricted free agency. And none of them have come to these deals. And Amin, as a former front office member of the Phoenix Suns, RFAs typically are in this awkward position where they want to go out and get an offer sheet from another team so they could bring it. Hey, guys, you got to pay me. I'm about to leave. I'm about to go out the door. Miles Turner, famously, DeAndre Ayton with the Indiana Pacers, I think it was, when he got an offer sheet from the Pacers and then brought it to the Phoenix Suns and they matched it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's some data that suggests that this is increasingly difficult market for RFAs.
Yeah.
Why is that? And do you have a story about a Phoenix player having an RFA situation or anything like that?
The major issue, guys, what we've seen in free agency recently is that there is no free agency. Guys don't get to free agency. Teams are spending their money on players that they already have or acquiring players under contract and extending them immediately. And what that does, in essence, is it makes it less of an impetus when it comes to summertime to spend money because your money's already been spent. Then the other thing is, whatever teams do have money, they're competing for the free agents that they know they can get, the unrestricted free agents, where all it takes is convincing you and having the money available. Restricted free agency, obviously, is a right of first refusal to the incumbent team, meaning I can like you, I can offer you the deal, but then I got to see what your incumbent team is going to do. And if they match, not only do I miss out on getting you, but most likely I've missed out on several other free agents who were available. We talked about this in the Malik Beasley thing. Even though he wasn't a restricted free agent, their decision,
the Pistons,
to pivot off of him after agreeing in principle to pay him $42 million over 3 years. We're not going to wait to see what happens with you. Going to go get Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert. That is kind of a proxy for what restricted free agency is. If you had to sit around and wait to see what happens to a guy, you miss out on reasonable facsimiles for the most part that you could have gotten out there and gotten. Now, the whole thing about restricted free agency is a team has to offer you a qualifying offer before the start of actual free agency.
Your incumbent team, so the Warriors and Kuminga, have to offer him a qualifying offer.
Right. Now, the qualifying offer basically is a 1-year deal for a predetermined fixed amount of money. We already know what that is. You can look it up on the cap sheet. The player has the ability to be like, you know what? I'm just going to take it on, bet on myself. I want to say Ben Gordon did that. He took the qualifying offer, played out at 1 year, and then became an unrestricted free agent at the end of that. And then you can pick wherever you want to go. The other benefit of the qualifying offer is when you accept it, while you're on it as a player, you have a no trade clause. You have right of first refusal as far as where you get traded to. They can't just send you anywhere. You get to say, I'll go here or go there. But basically, if the player does not accept that right of first refusal by whatever the August date is, then he continues to be a restricted free agent, but he has no other recourse but to negotiate whatever term it is with his incumbent team unless someone comes in. But again, we know as free agency wears on and money is getting scarcer and scarcer, teams are kind of set in their ways. So the chances of getting an offer sheet, while not unheard of, do definitely dip dramatically the longer summer lasts.
So according to the F5 Substack by Owen Phillips, I subscribe to it. It's an amazing, amazing publication. I highly recommend it. He just did an amazing story on the recent history of free agent offer sheets and how the restricted free agent offer sheet is becoming extinct. The last guy who didn't have his offer sheet matched, do you know who that is? I mean, back in 2020, the Kings declined to match this player, and the Hawks ended up getting him. 5 years ago was the last one that this happened.
Damn, man. No, I must say I don't know.
Bogdan Bogdanovic.
Oh, wow.
The Kings were like, yep, you can go. That's fine.
That's not a good move.
And then DeAndre Ayton was the next one who had it matched. The Suns and the Pacers, like I mentioned. That was in 2022. Matisse Thybulle with the Blazers. The Dallas Mavericks offered him, and the Blazers matched. And then B-Ball Paul Reed with the Sixers. The Jazz wanted him, and it got matched. So that's just 3 times since 2020 that an RFA has gotten an offer sheet.
4 times. 3 of them got matched.
But it's been since 2020 since a team was able to pilfer another guy from another situation. So it's not a fruitful market.
Not a fruitful market. And you got 3 players in Josh Giddey, Jonathan Kuminga, and Cam Thomas.
And Quentin Grimes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, 4 players. 4 guys who had varying degrees of pretty good seasons, right? Kuminga, obviously, he did his during the playoffs when everyone got hurt, and he kind of showed once again and how good he is. Josh Giddey, I think, had a really solid year for Chicago. Cam Thomas, obviously, since he's gotten the opportunity to go out and play, it shows he's a great per-minute scorer in this league. And Quentin Grimes getting traded from Dallas to Philly, that was a godsend for him because it really allowed him to let loose, again, on a team that was very injured. These guys are all sitting around waiting. And now here's the other part about this. To be honest with you guys, I haven't thought about the 3 other teams. But I know for Golden State, the Kuminga process is holding up other free agency moves. Keep your third eye open with me here. Remember how they said Al Horford to the Warriors, done deal? He's still unsigned. Remember how they said DeAnthony Melton, reunion with the Warriors? He's still unsigned. There's a third name that I'm not at liberty to say, but he's also in the hopper, waiting for a Kuminga.
Well, you're not at liberty to say, but Tim Kawakami reported for the SF Standard that the final roster spot could be Gary Payton II signing up for another tour duty, or could be a brother.
Hey, brother.
Of a current player.
Oh.
Hey, hermano.
Yeah.
It could be Seth Curry teaming up with Steph Curry for a potential reunion. Per Anthony Slater, per Tim Kawakami.
Well, per Amin Elhassan, there's a third name that has not been mentioned.
Oh, keep your third eye.
I'm breaking news left and right. I kind of like this shit now, man.
Oh.
This shit is fun. But yeah, there's at least 3 names who are all waiting because they have to wait to see what happens to Jonathan Kuminga.
Because they need to know how much salary Kuminga's contract would take up, so they know how much of the exception they can give to Horford, et cetera, et cetera.
And not only that, but also if Kuminga is to be signed somewhere else, or in an ideal world for Kuminga, Giddey, all the rest of the guys, you're interested in me? All right, cool. Let's work out a sign and trade, and then we don't have to get into offer sheets and all that. I get my money. I get to go somewhere where I get to play and have fun. And there are players that come back in return, but how many roster spots in return? There's all of these questions floating around. And if you're Jonathan Kuminga, perhaps more so than the other names, not the least of which is a question of, do you guys even like me? Because it feels like, if I'm Jonathan Kuminga, I'm the date that the Warriors want to take to the prom only if their first option isn't available.
It's the date that they're hoping to swap for a different date once they get to the prom.
Fine, so-and-so wouldn't want to go out with me, so I guess you're it. Because ultimately, that's the way they use Kuminga over the last at least year, maybe even more. It's like, Jonathan Kuminga, when everyone's healthy, you don't fit the way we play. Jonathan Kuminga, because everyone's hurt, we need someone who can fill up the stat sheet, and you're really good at that, which is cool, but also not cool if you have aspirations of making a lot of money and playing a lot of minutes. And for him, it's got to feel like, I don't fit into the way you guys want to play. Why are you holding on to me? Just let me be. Let me go. But for the Warriors, it's just business, baby.
Yeah, it's tough because I think we've reached a point where everyone is a little too smart. So when Kuminga steps in, when Steph is injured against the Timberwolves and he's putting up 20 points a game, everybody can do the math to connect the dots as to why he's putting up those 20 points. And they're not like, oh my God, Kuminga's a legit scorer in this league. And the price doesn't go up as they hoped. What happened was that the internal price, Kuminga's price of himself, is what went up. And now you've got a standoff.
Even if the price does go up, do we believe for sure that the Warriors aren't going to match?
I meant in a trade, but yes.
There's one last part about this that is incredibly fascinating to me, which is Chicago is one of the teams that was rumored early on to be interested in Jonathan Kuminga. And they've got their own situation going on with Josh Giddey. I remember at Summer League, there was a report that talks hadn't been going so great and that Josh Giddey was at Summer League, but he wouldn't show up whenever the Bulls were there. Does Josh Giddey's fate basically dictate what's going to happen to Jonathan Kuminga and vice versa?
What if? Can you do a sign-in trade involving 2 RFA candidates?
Sure.
Hey, you're not super happy with the Bulls and the way they treat you? We could use another ball handling guy who loves to pass. Josh Giddey for Jonathan Kuminga, straight up. We know Arturas Kornishovas loves straight up trades.
Does he?
Loves it. Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey for Jonathan Kuminga. Can we make this happen?
Can we get Cam Thomas involved too?
Man.
Can we get a little bit of a carousel?
Oh, poor Cam Thomas. By the way, anyone want to touch on Cam Thomas versus Zach Lowe? That
was great.
Media beef I never thought I would see. That's the last of my bingo cards.
Aggregators, mount up.
Oh, they strike again. Cam Thomas responding to the aggregation of Zach Lowe.
He has to know that about himself, though, right?
I don't think he does.
That was the first time he heard that.
This is kind of Zach's point, is he's a bit of a ball hog. There's lots of different perceptions about his game, opinions about his game, but he doesn't have the court awareness or he's just not as much of a passer. And for him to respond this way, I feel like it does kind of solidify some of that ball hog.
Which was, quote, "Fuck you and the consensus, Zach Lowe. This is most likely the same consensus who can't guard me and send double teams from jump ball. Why are we double teaming a guy that's not that good? Make it make sense." And there was data done by your buddy, Tom, Owen Phillips of the F5 Substack, who found that Cam Thomas was in the top 5 of most double team players.
Yeah.
And also led to a fascinating graphic showing that Zion is far and away the most double team player per possession in the league.
Well,
there are 2 types of double teams in the NBA, right? There's a double team like, this guy's so good, we got to get the ball out of his hands. And there's a double team of, this guy is so terrible at passing, whether it's ability or desire, that this is either going to turn into a forced shot or he's going to cough it up. It's not because they're worried about you. It's because they know that this is going to elicit the best possible result.
That's right. Man, Jonathan Kuminga, Joe Lacob, I don't think was really wrong about the 2 timeline idea. It's just the draft picks didn't work out. You got to hit the draft picks if you're going to do something like that.
Now I'm only wondering, does he go qualifying offer route or does he eventually cave and take the 2 to 3 year contract?
Can't take the QO because then the Warriors are going to submarine his value. He's not going to get the opportunities he needs to prove that he's getting a big payday. I just don't think that's a good situation.
Quite the opposite. I think you take the qualifying offer with the understanding that we're going to work on a trade. You guys are going to trade me.
Well, that's how it's been. But the only offers drifting across the desk are from the Phoenix Suns, who we know have no draft picks available.
Yeah.
And the Kings won't even include Keon Ellis.
I love Keon Ellis.
They will not include Keon Ellis in a trade for Jonathan Kuminga.
President of the Keon Ellis fan club, by the way. Jimmy Butler 2.0.
Amazing. San Francisco is all the way out now.
No.
This Bay Area is all the way out.
I think Keon Ellis would help the Warriors.
Sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like, who the fuck are you, Sacramento Kings, to draw the line at Keon Ellis? That's your tone right now.
It's funny. Do you want Kuminga or not? Give us Keon Ellis.
Yeah, the Warriors got to ramp up for skinny Luka, the digital cover of Men's Health. We're going to talk with one of the authors of that article that has caused quite a frenzy in the NBA world. Ebenezer Samuel is going to join us here in a second to talk about Luka Doncic 2.0.
Listener, listen up. This is important, okay? I'm going to try to save you some money here. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. You may think like, oh, that's bad. No contracts. No monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. Here's why I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for $15 a month. You heard that correctly. $15 per month. Ditch overpriced wireless and the jaw-dropping monthly bills. And of course, there are all these hidden fees and stuff, but at Mint Mobile, plans start at $15 per month. All the plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text. You're not doing like weekend and nighttime minutes or anything like that. and it's delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone. Don't have to get a new phone. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. I switched months ago. People have asked, did you actually switch? Yes, I actually switched months ago, and I don't know what to do with all this extra money. I've cheated the system here. I've rigged something. This is an Ocean's 11 situation where I'm stealing wireless from Mint. That's how good a deal it is. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/dings. That's D-I-N-G-S. That's mintmobile.com/dings. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 per month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
Hello, listener. It's Producer Maze here to talk to you about Quince and their cookware. Cooler nights mean cozy meals at home, and Quince's cookware has made fall cooking so much more enjoyable. Their pieces deliver the quality and performance of luxury brands, but at a price that makes sense. And they look gorgeous on the stovetop, too. No matter what item you need to complete your kitchen, Quince has you covered. With 5-ply stainless steel pots and pans, nonstick skillets, chef-quality knives, and even ceramic bakeware, which is perfect for cozy casseroles or Sunday roasts. And when you look at these prices, you might think, how is Quince doing this? How do they deliver high-quality items similar to high-end brands that are half the price? Well, let me tell you, they partner directly with ethical top-tier factories to cut out the middlemen and pass the savings on to you. And it's not just cookware. I got myself some bath sheets. That's right. When you're a tall man, you have to use bath sheets, not bath towels from Quince. It's like drying off with the cloud. It's incredible. Upgrade your kitchen for cozy fall meals with premium cookware from Quince. Go to quince.com/dings for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/dings, D-I-N-G-S, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/dings. Hello, listener. It's Producer Maze here to talk to you about Kindred. Now, close your eyes like Owen Wilson during a job interview and imagine a way to travel that feels personal, comfortable, and connected without the price tags and the sterile feelings of hotels or short-term rentals. Now open your eyes and stop using your imagination because Kindred has made it very real. That's exactly what they do. Kindred is a members-only home swapping network. It's not a hotel. It's not a short-term rental. It's a smarter way to travel where each stay feels like home. Here's how it works. With Kindred, your home is your ticket. You earn credits by hosting fellow Kindred members, and then you use those credits to stay in over 220,000 homes in more than 100 cities worldwide. There are no hotel costs or rental fees, just the credits that you've earned. Every stay comes with white glove service, 24/7 trip support, and $100,000 in host protection. Make it easier for you to travel and enjoy yourself and not worry about details. I've used Kindred and I found an amazing home for a weekend getaway in an idyllic location with amazing views and great ambiance. It had everything I needed. And the best part was, it cost me $0. So apply now at livekindred.com and use code DINGS to join for free. Plus, you'll earn 5 nights of travel credit just for signing up. That's right, that's 5 whole nights for free at livekindred, KINDRED.com, code DINGS, D-I-N-G-S, livekindred.com, code DINGS.
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
This episode is brought to you by Contentful. Marketers, you know that feeling when your creative clicks? When that social post sends engagement through the roof? When your outside-of-the-box campaign hits ROI positive? When a personalized homepage turns prospects into customers? It's utter marketing bliss. Contentful helps you create tailored omni-channel experiences without working overtime. No stress, no limits, only possibilities. Get the feels at Contentful.com.
You all think I'm licked. Well, I'm not licked. And I'm going to stay right here and fight for this lost cause, even if this room gets filled with lies like these. And the Taylors and all their armies come marching into this place. Somebody will listen to me.
There's no better way to overpower a trickle of doubt than with a flood of naked truth.
But the complexity and the gray lie not in the truth, but what you do with the truth once you have it.
What is true and right is true and right for all.
You and I both know that that's just not the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
It's too messy. Keeps them up nights.
I'm here because in the end, the truth is worth the risk.
Speak a little truth and people lose their minds.
I'm a grown man. You can tell me the truth.
Why is it people who want the truth never believe it when they hear it?
So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something really outrageous. I'm going to tell the truth.
Ebenezer, thanks so much for joining us on such short notice. The article, Luka Doncic 2.0 has entered the chat. The NBA superstar has taken plenty of heat for his conditioning and physique over the years, but after a full summer of training and lots of protein, he's poised to take his game and the Lakers to another level. Ebenezer, thank you for joining us.
No, thank you guys for having me. Tom, I think I actually used to read your stuff a ton. So, yeah.
Used to?
Oh, God. Yeah,
we're going so well.
Bad start. I used to cover the NBA back in the day, like Frank Isola times, and a little bit after that. So for New York Daily News. So, I'm always a fan of like good NBA writing. So, yeah.
Oh, amazing. Well, so this story, you must have been super, super excited to report out along with one of your colleagues, Andrew Heffernan. I'm sorry, I don't read Men's Health enough to realize that you guys have like your physical training credentials or your medical credentials with your byline, which is such a flex, like no pun intended. That's great. I love that.
Yeah, no, I actually, so I came up like you guys, like I actually wanted to cover basketball a long time. I wanted to pivoting to training because it's fun. I worked with a couple NFL players, and then now I write. So yeah, yeah.
Awesome. And so Luka's not exactly the biggest open book in the league. How did you convince him to give you access to do this story?
It was actually interesting. I think we at Men's Health were always kind of looking for guys who epitomize fitness, and I've kind of learned from a variety of ways. It's not always kind of about just the way a guy looks, right? And so we were kind of looking for an athlete who kind of we could talk about. It's not just about the looks, right? It's not just about biceps or about abs, but it's about the way you move. That's how I believe fitness is supposed to be. We had a couple of really good conversations with his team, and I had heard some stuff too that he can be hard to talk to, but we had a great interview with him. He was very just open and comfortable, and I think, to be honest, he was it looked like he was kind of proud of the work he's put in, and he should be, right? I remember asking him a question, do you feel like you look different? And he kind of like motioned to his shoulders a little bit, and he's like, yeah. I'm like, this guy deserves it. He put in work.
Yeah. So talk to me about the workouts itself that you guys were able to uncover, because he does look thinner. He looks more cut. He looks a lot younger to me. Maybe that's just the suntan and just he got a haircut for the photo shoot. He looks great. I'm a happily married man here, but I think Luka looks fantastic in these photos. I'm excited to see it.
It's crazy when I was looking at the photos, like obviously when you watch this one thing and, then he looks like Luka, right? And then when I saw the stills myself, it kind of reminded me for a second of like Tony Kukoc, which is, I guess, going way back. But, he looks so much longer than I realized, right? Mm-hmm. We got to watch him for a 90-minute workout, again, like in Croatia over Zoom. And just like I think I was impressed by two things. One was kind of how and I'll get a little like trainer nerdy if you guys don't mind.
Let's do it.
But one was, I guess, how his trainers kind of put together the workout. And both me and Andrew were kind of talking about it in the aftermath. A lot of times, like, you have kind of like a strength portion to the workout, and then you have kind of like an athleticism portion, right? And then you have like your on-court stuff, you know? And what they did, I thought was really interesting, because very often they would have him do one like upper body exercise, and then they would have him do a lower body exercise. And then from there, they would have him kind of get on the court. And it was all kind of like in these circuits, right? Which I thought was a really interesting way to do it, because what it does is it's like, you know, you get a little fatigued in your upper body, you get a little fatigued in your lower body, and then you're on the court, right? And that's not dissimilar to, you know, late in a game, right? Or at some point in a game, right? When you've kind of been out there a little bit and you've got a little fatigue on you, and then you kind of get out there and play, right? So I thought it was kind of a smart workout format and something different. I don't know if it's like that. I don't know that it's like that every single day for him, right? But I thought it was kind of a smart workout format. He did a lot of kind of different motions. He also did a lot of kind of the smart old guy stuff that you don't think about, right? Like we're midway through kind of working out some NFL stuff. So I'm thinking like bench press, squat, deadlift, and a lot of the stuff I'm working on project wise in men's health. And watching him, like he started with a lot of hip mobility drills, right? And kind of flexibility and mobility. This isn't a guy who's trying to, you know, look the part. He's trying to play the part. And watching the workout, I felt like that really came through, like what the focus is for him. Like he understands, and his team understands. He's got a team of 3. He has a trainer, he has kind of a physiotherapist, and then he has a nutritionist. And, you know, they understand like what they're doing this for. And it was very kind of just impressive to watch, because the entire workout was focused, not a lot of fluff.
I'm curious because sometimes guys with that body type, part of their effectiveness on the basketball court is them using their girth. So how much attention did they pay to like not having him lose too much, because now we're taking away one of his advantages, his kind of his bulk advantage?
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting we also have kind of a pre-interview. I had some time to really kind of get to know they call it Team Luka, this team of trainers whose names I will horribly mispronounce, so I'm not even going to try to do it. But yeah, I think one thing they talked about, so they talked about 2 ideas, one of which they kind of believe is his superpower, right? And it's very similar to, you know, I feel like we heard a lot about this, about James Harden a couple years ago. And it's this idea of deceleration, right? Yep. It's not the guy who can go real fast. It's like they view his superpower as the ability to like stop suddenly, right? And so they did a lot to train that, right? So I think what they did is, yes, reproportion his body, and a lot of that came, you know, with a very meticulous diet, right, that helped, and then just overall conditioning, right? But so yes, they reproportioned his body, but they focused in on deceleration. So it was a lot of resistance band stuff. Another thing he was doing on the court that I found really interesting is like his trainer would wrap like a resistance band around his waist, right? And then he's going in for layups, and the resistance band is pulling him in different directions, right? Mm-hmm. So he still kind of has to use his frame to, you know, he still has to use his frame and his body and remember how to kind of do that and work against like an opposing force, if you will. He's just doing it at, you know, a little bit of your lighter weight, right? To your other point though, yeah, in terms of like girth and strength, and for some guys that is kind of their thing, right? His trainers talked a lot about, you know, his like, he's a very strong lower body guy, and he still has kind of like, it's not like he lost the thickness in his legs, right?
Right.
One thing that impressed me too, and I'll shut up, I promise. But one thing that impressed me too is like when we got the shots back, and when I was watching it, like he's not, there's a point where he's doing a trap bar deadlift, right? Yeah. And that's like a, you know, great lower body lift, really big power lift, right? That is like basically your vertical leap personified. And he's not doing like an insignificant amount of weight. It's like 185, 225 pounds. He doesn't need to be a 500-pound deadlift guy, but that's a good number for a guy who, 1, is that height, and 2, to like, again, maintain some of that strength. So I think they managed to help him drop some weight potentially, mm-hmm. right? Without compromising the strength and the base that you're speaking to.
Yeah, Steph Curry, I think the trap bar deadlift, he's really good. I think he had the record for the Warriors. Probably some sort of weight adjustment, because I don't know if he's out doing like Festus Ezeli on something like that. But like the trap bar deadlift is kind of legendary among NBA circles. Just like that's a really good exercise for trying to do basketball things.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's interesting. Like I can go down a rabbit hole on trap bar deadlift because this is what I have to do today in the gym for myself too, right? But the taller you get, the harder the lift is because it's literally like one, it's like harder to get down that low, right? And two, like the time under tension, right? It takes like if the 5'9" guy, so I'm 5'9", and it takes me like 2 seconds to get it up. If somebody's like 6'8", right? It takes 3 or 4 seconds for them to stand up with the load, which is just more fatigue, right? So the trap bar deadlift will be harder for a Luka than it will be for like a Steph Curry, and like Earl Boykins had it the easiest of anybody in the NBA.
That's like the same thing with the bench press. They say like guys with short arms.
Yeah,
like the distance that you're going is a lot shorter than a long arm
KD.
person.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. So. One of the things that we're seeing a lot more across the board is the introduction of data-driven workouts, right? Where we're not just, hey, this workout is good for you, but like it's very meticulous, not only in terms of the measurables, but also what we're measuring using catapults or whatever type of technology there is. What tech did you witness them using, and what data are they using in order to help them get into shape?
So we didn't exactly witness the tech per se, right? Because a lot of that took place in this early May period where he's in Madrid and he was going through a lot of the testing, right? We kind of saw the output, like how they had obviously fashioned his workout deeper into his off season, right? But the tech that we were told about, so a lot of it was they did 3 kinds of sort of tests to collect like, biometric and kind of like internal data, like his microbiome and stuff like that, right? They did blood tests.
Stool samples. I've seen stool. That was I was like, yo, they're really, they're doing it.
they were very hardcore, but they did 3 tests, and I think that was used to optimize the diet that he was on, right? The diet that he was on winds up being intermittent fasting, which is really annoying. It's like you're only eating 8 hours a day, right? Very high protein, very low gluten, right? But they optimized his diet with that testing, right? Physically, they did some MRI work, right? I think they didn't really specify exactly what they did, but there were MRI, there was ultrasound testing, right? I think a lot of that was to, make sure he was healthy. He's coming off like, the season in which he's played the fewest games in his NBA career, right? And so the first order of business for them in the offseason was to get him healthy and make sure he was healthy before they can start to build on that, right? So that was another part of things. And then the last part of things, and this is the most interesting to me, and we didn't get into it too much in the story just because of space and because it's like super nerdy, is that they did a lot of force plate analysis, right? Which normally they're using the force plates to kind of like measure how high you jump and how high you land. One of the things, so his physiotherapist and the guy who heads up his team actually has a very heavy foot health background, right? And so they really were using it to kind of see like where he's putting weight specifically on his feet, which I thought was really cool. Again, it was something we couldn't get into as much as I wish we could in the story. I'd love to write, 2,000 words on feet, but I don't think it would fly too well. So that's kind of the extent of the data stuff they did, which I think is pretty deep.
Yeah. I was reading the story and I was, Lakers fans got to be so excited to see this, that they got not only Luka Doncic, but they got one that seems extremely motivated to prove the haters wrong, as you guys called it in the story. They've got Austin Reeves, they got LeBron, they got Luka on the same team, and he is looking great. He's also been working out with another legendary workout guy in LeBron James. Did that ever come up in your conversation with Luka and just like what it's like to be on the same team with LeBron and seeing how he works out?
To be honest, we didn't. We talked mostly, I want to say very specifically about his training. So I didn't get into too much of the LeBron stuff with him. Near the end, we did kind of have a chance I kind of asked him, we were trying to be pretty specific to the training. So I asked him, who are the guys who've kind of influenced you to get to this point, right? And he brought up 3 names then. He brought up Dirk, who I guess he played his first year with, and he got to know him very well. And I think his manager, Larry Bessiger, she has a very good connection to Dirk. So he brought him up. And then he brought up MJ and Kobe. So he definitely has kind of like legend influences. LeBron, again, I just wasn't a name that came up in this particular discussion, but I can imagine, like playing with that guy has a huge influence on, again, he looks the part.
Well, Ebenezer, what would you want to ask LeBron if you had a one-on-one with him about his trading?
The thing I would love to ask LeBron, I mean, he's played for so long and managed to do it at such a high level. And I think like the thing that amazes me about him is that he's had almost, I wonder where his skills have kind of eroded and how he's managed to offset that, right? Because I think when you get one of the things, I was a very big fan of like Tom Brady coming up, and Tom Brady was a guy who didn't seem to have a whole ton of natural, like he wasn't super fast or anything like that, and so that allowed him to kind of play for a very long time, and it wasn't like he was ever missing his 4.340, right? So I think the thing that I would love to ask LeBron is just like, what are the things you've worked on as you've gotten older that you've kind of put more emphasis on, as you've noticed that maybe you lost like a quarter of an inch off your amazing vertical, right? Because I think that's kind of I think when athletes get to like age 27, 28, and Luke is obviously 2 years away from that, so I feel like he's ahead of the curve on some of this stuff. I feel like you hone in on the things you're good at, because you're not really going to add 4 inches to your vertical in an off season, right? So it's like, what have you discovered that you're good at, and how do you lean into that in your training?
How sustainable do you think all of this is? The physique, the regimen. Obviously, you're not going to train like that during the regular season, but how sustainable are these results for him to continue on once the regular season starts?
I think a lot is going to depend, because you're not going to. So I think a lot is going to really depend on the diet, right? Can he maintain this diet? And I think on some level, you're going to give a little bit of it back, right? Intermittent fasting during an NBA season with the travel schedule that these guys have, the playing schedule kind of all over the place. I think that is a lot. So I think that could be tough, right? But it wouldn't hurt if he, I think he could add a little bit of weight, at the start of the season, right? And be okay, right? He's very, very lean now. I think the athleticism that he's gained, right? And I think this is, again, what's smart about the way they fashioned this workout plan, where he's doing like an upper or lower, and then he's spending time on the court, right? He took about a month off from basketball, didn't play basketball at all, and then he got back out on the court. And so he's had a little bit of time to like get used to his body again, right? And so I think he'll be able to maintain some of this athleticism. And again, they didn't make him massively faster. They didn't add, 4 inches to his vertical. He did say that his vertical is better now, right? And those aren't critical pieces to his game. So I think because he's not like this guy who goes out and relies on his athleticism, a lot of this is going to be easy for him to hold and easy for him to sustain. We're also going to see it really quick, I think, right? Because Eurobasket is coming up in less than a month.
Ebenezer, when you look at Luka Doncic and his diet, when you're writing that he has at least 250 grams of protein. Now, you cover athletes, you've worked with pro athletes. Can you give us a sense of, is that a lot, or is that like right around what you would want to see for a guy who's 6'7", 200 and some odd pounds?
It's so in terms of the number, ideally every single person, if you're trying to be fit, if you're trying to be strong, and if you like, protein is such a key building block. So the goal is 1 gram of protein per pound of goal body weight, with no downside to getting a little bit more. If he's around, let's say 230, I guess that's his listed weight, right? He's 20 grams above that, which is a really, really good number to be at, right? Getting there is really hard. Getting there, like, that's like, if you think about, especially in 8 hours a day, right? When you're only eating for 8 hours. So for most of us, if you have 6 chicken breasts, okay, and you figure each of those has 30 grams, right? And you're going to have them each at different sittings, right? Because that's a lot of chicken. So that's 6 meals. You're going to eat chicken breast 6 times to get to 180 grams of protein, right? So that's 70 grams short. So the way he's going to have to make this up is, 1, it's a lot of protein shakes, right? And 2, it's a lot of like fish, salmon, beef, and stuff like that. It's a lot of eating. And again, that's where I think he's going to have to give some of that back during the off season, or during the in season rather, because it's a lot of eating. And again, he may wind up making that up with, less quote unquote ideal calories, which is okay, right? A lot of athletes like bikers and stuff like that, you have kind of those quicker calories when you have, when you're in competition or when you have to run, so I think that's okay, right? But it is a lot of food. It takes a lot of dedication. And again, pairing it with the intermittent fasting is the part that makes it both really hard to sustain, right? So it was work for him to eat this off season, right? And kind of really impressive dedication too.
Ebenezer, last question here. Anything on the cutting room floor that you were hoping would get into the pieces at Men's Health that you weren't able to get in there, but you'd love to share with the audience?
Wow. It's crazy. I'm never ready for that question. I should be, right? Like I should get edited better, right? No, I think to be honest, we covered everything. I would just say like, I think the impressive thing about it and the thing to watch for this season is going to be like his deceleration, his ability to be healthy, right? I think what they did, the other thing that I think they did that is very underrated, and it was on the cutting room floor of this discussion, and we mentioned it a little bit in the story, right? During that period where he wasn't playing, first of all, I think the month off is really, really beneficial to so many athletes. Because you're playing year round, your body is taking the exact same kind of pounding. It's like landing, takeoff, a little bit of lateral movement. That's basketball, right? And so getting away from the game for that month, I think was really, really good for him, right? During that period, they wanted to give him activity. It was just different activity, right? So he wound up playing like pickleball, which I personally cannot stand pickleball, right? I feel like don't ever catch me doing that. But at the same time, it's this really interesting thing for him because it is still requiring some athleticism. It's a lot of lateral movement, right? And it's a lot of rotation to, kind of react to the ball, right? And it's a lot of quick stuff. So I'm kind of interested just personally to see how that kind of affects him. He hasn't played 5-on-5 yet, right? His first 5-on-5 experience probably be a little bit for Eurobasket, right? So we don't know how but I wonder if, some of these lateral gains and the rotational gains, we're going to see in terms of better defense and a little bit more quickness than we've seen from him. Again, just moving, not just offensively, but defensively.
Yeah. Would you play him in pickleball, even though you hate it? If Luka said, you know what, Ebenezer, I know you won't do it for anybody else, but will you play me in pickleball?
I will take him in pickleball. Yeah. And ping pong. That's my real tennis game.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Ebenezer Samuel, thanks so much for joining us on Basketball Illuminati. It's menshealth.com. The digital cover for Men's Health is Luka Doncic. 2.0 has entered the chat. Go check that out. Just dropped on Monday morning. So go check that out. Thanks so much for joining us, Ebenezer.
Thank you guys for having me on.
It takes time to connect the dots.
I know that.
But also, I know that there could be a day of reckoning when you wish you connected the dots
more quick. What were we thinking? Why didn't we wake up when we had a chance?
Move it! Demolish it! Blow it up!
What gets us into trouble is not what we don't know.
It's what we know for sure.
That just ain't so.
Amin's Inconvenient Truth.
Communicate this real clearly. The only way I do it.
City by city, person by person, family by family.
There are a lot of people go straight from denial to despair.
Without pausing on the intermediate step of actually doing something about the problem.
Amin's Inconvenient Truth.
So, Tom Mays, we've been doing a lot of talk about Malik Beasley and Jonte Porter right here on this podcast and Terry Rozier. And Tom introduced what I believe to be the inaugural episode of Baseball Illuminati earlier in this episode.
That's right.
Talking about Class A of the
Cleveland Guardians.
Some gambling irregularities, as we call them, happening there. But it got me to thinking, all of these scandals are happening across sports, and everyone is worried about this widespread scourge of the gamblers influencing players and deteriorating the integrity of the game. And I say to you that when it comes to the major sports, there is one great insulator from all of this, and that is money. Namely, most, not all, but most professional athletes in the four major sports make a shit ton of money, meaning the amount of money it would take to sway or influence my decision-making and my integrity of the game is so big that it would not make sense for most gamblers, even those who have the wherewithal. Like, are you going to drop $1 million so you can win $1.5 million or whatever? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, in the olden days, and when the olden days, I mean like in the last 20 to 30 years, there was a great source for people who are willing to, quote unquote, play ball with the gamblers. That's college basketball, or college sports, I should say. But now with the rise of NIL, these kids, particularly the ones that hold the decision-making for some of these bets, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. They're getting paid legally lots of money. They don't need 20 grand, 40 grand or whatever from a gambler in order to throw a game or mess with the line or mess with the props or whatever. But there is one sport in North America right now that is gaining popularity day by day in which the athletes aren't compensated at a level that would insulate them from the advances of gambling. And I'm shocked and surprised that this hasn't really been talked about anywhere. I'm not talking about anyone specific. I'm just saying the concept, the specter. As we worry about gambling in the NBA, as we worry about gambling in MLB, why isn't anyone worried about gambling in the WNBA? Why isn't anyone worrying about player props hitting the unders? I've been to the sports books in Vegas. They're all up on there. They are working these WNBA games. They're on the board. Now, here's the crazy part, Tom. Do you know what the impetus for me was? The thing that sparked my brain about this.
Was it the fact that Caitlin Clark's 2025 base salary is $78,000?
No, I always knew their money was terrible.
Was it the All-Stars wearing "Pay Us What You Owe Us" t-shirts during warm-ups?
Again, that is a factor, but not a factor that I discovered or was a revelation, because I know that they're not paid appropriately based on the way this game is going, the franchise valuations, all that. No, I'll take it a step further, gentlemen. It was our Malik Beasley episode. And in it, we talked about Jonte Porter. We went back over the Jonte Porter specifics, Tom. And do you remember how Jonte Porter, at least in one game, if not two games, managed to guarantee to hit the unders?
It's something that I have called the Jonte, which is he pulled himself out of a game in, I would say, distasteful manners. It would not be a legit injury. It was, oh, my eye hurts, or oh, I'm sick. And that was one of the ways to clinch the unders, is pull himself from a game.
Right. So injury as a way to exit the game early to guarantee not hitting the unders. And that was the first thing I thought about. Again, let me be perfectly clear right here. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just saying that this is a method of achieving that desired goal. And so when I saw Breonna Stewart leave a Liberty game 3 minutes into the game, but then the news report afterwards said, quote, "The all-star forward had imaging done and nothing major turned up." That's from the Associated Press. Again, I'm not accusing Breonna Stewart of anything, but it clicked in my head. Everything added up of, whoa, if I were a gambler and I wanted to make money and have it be in a more accessible way than whatever it would take to influence an NBA player or have to drag the fringes of the roster like a Jonte Porter, if I wanted someone who I know has control over stuff to help me out, I would go after a WNBA player.
Well, also the fact that Jonte Porter was caught up in this scheme, his salary was $400,000 with the G League two-way contract with the Toronto Raptors. That's like twice as much as the average WNBA player salary. That the highest. I think the max is like $250,000.
Yeah, that's almost twice as much as the highest paid WNBA player, right? If we're looking for bang for the buck as gamblers, people susceptible, vulnerable. We talk about Malik Beasley's vulnerability because of financial pangs.
Took a 90% pay cut the year before the whole gambling story, the games that it was focused on in the 2023-24 season. He took a 90% pay cut. I don't care who you are. That's going to be tough.
And really, much of the suspicion surrounding Malik Beasley is pinned to the circumstantial evidence of this guy is going through some financial struggles, right? Or financial issues, I should say. Again, WNBA players would seem to provide a much larger population of not financially secure athletes who have control over outcomes of games and stat lines and all that, right? I'm not going to the fringes. I can go right to the heart of it. And none of them are really making any real money. Now, of course, obviously endorsement money. There's the players that earn overseas money. But still, we're talking about a fraction of what Malik Beasley, for instance, made in his prior deal before his team option was declined in Los Angeles. He made lots and lots of money that most WNBA players will not see. So, again, it's not an accusation. I'm not dropping breadcrumbs. I'm just telling you to keep your third eye open. Because I think the next big gambling scandal, logically, would be centered around the WNBA.
Do you guys know the 3 players who have had a 42-inch vertical on a dunk in this last NBA season? Because now we have these metrics. The NBA dunk score has all these cameras.
Don't get me started on this shit again, dunk score.
You could talk shit about the subjective nature of some of this stuff, but the measurables.
Okay.
The vertical height of the highest dunks in the NBA this season. There's only 3 players who have cleared 42-inch vertical on their dunks.
Okay.
Shaedon Sharpe.
Makes sense.
Anthony Edwards.
Great athlete.
And Ja Morant.
That sounds pretty on point. Where are we going with this?
Mace, why is that such an important number?
Well, it turns out that in the Men's Health article on the new Luka Doncic 2.0, there was a part that was removed on the day that it came out, that it was released on the internet. And here's the passage. After talking about not everything is jumping high, the article said, quote, "Oh, and he can jump. Lost in the narratives about his weight and conditioning is the fact that as a 19-year-old at the 2018 Scouting Combine, Luka delivered a 42-inch vertical leap."
Bull fucking shit.
I read that. I was like, whoa, 42 inches. And then I went back into the story and it wasn't there anymore.
How do you come up with that exactly? 42 inches for Luka Doncic. Certainly not the eye test. And it turns out he wasn't even at the 2018 draft combine.
Yeah, I think he was playing the Final Four in Europe.
Yeah. Real Madrid?
Yes. They won, by the way. He was MVP.
And it turns out that thanks to @NickVanExit on Twitter,
good handle,
he believes that the 42-inch vertical leap was determined by the AI overview.
No.
From Google.
No.
Your old friend Gemini, I mean.
No.
Gemini?
E2 Gemini.
God damn it, Gemini.
Which conflated Dante DiVincenzo's vertical leap at the combine.
I get it. Doncic, Dante kind of sounds similar.
White guy, blonde hair, white guy, blonde hair.
So wait, Dante DiVincenzo had a 42-inch vertical at the combine. That sounds pretty steep for him, but okay, fine.
Nah, I believe that guy got hops.
But that's fascinating. That's fascinating. So the 42-inch vertical from Luka Doncic. Actually, Ebenezer did say that he feels like he added some to his vertical after losing this weight and getting more fit. So
that part of the article is still in there.
Oh, it is? Okay.
That Luka believes that his vertical is a little bit higher, even though they haven't measured it this year yet.
Maybe he gets the 42 this year after all this training.
Yeah, if he adds up every single jump, he might get to 42.
Gotta eat enough chickens.